Welcome back to the show. This is the Pulse here on Journey. Something we are all looking forward to tomorrow. The Finance Minister, Dr. Kayse Latoforsen, says the 2025 budget, which he will present to Parliament tomorrow, will focus on fulfilling the NDC's 120-day social contract as outlined in the 2024 manifesto. Speaking on an X-Spaces discussions with young people on Monday evening, he reiterated the government's commitment to significant tax cuts, including the removal of the E-Levy and other similar taxes.
There will be a stable exchange rate, stable inflation, and a stable economy. That in itself will control the prices that we see moving from 1 city to 3 cities within 2 days or 3 weeks. So that should be the focus, and we will work around it to make sure it happens. If you are to look at the manifesto, we have a number of policies. Some are time-bound, some within 120 days, some within 1 year, and some after 1 year, and some in the medium term. You can certainly not accommodate every single thing in the manifesto in one budget year. The focus will be to identify those that we pledge to complete and implement in the first year and within the 120 days. And then also we plan to implement the medium-term policies as we have pledged with the people. And so we will ask for the general public to understand that some are time-bound.
Well, the Finance Minister has also hinted at an ongoing process to eliminate several taxes and charges at Ghana's ports, revealing that any of these levies do not actually reach the state coffers.
And the process to rationalize all the taxes at the port. We believe that some of the taxes and some of the levies in particular can be removed, because it will surprise you to know that all these levies and taxes does not come straight to the central government. Some of the levies you see there are being, the benefits is not going straight to support the consolidated fund. And so we need to identify who are those benefiting from these levies and for what purpose. And then if there's the need for us to remove them, we will have to remove them. So there's a team that are working at the moment as we speak, and I'm sure in due course we will announce that. And again, in the budget, we'll hear some announcement on how we intend to rationalize those levies and taxes at the ports in particular. Even though some of these levies are not coming directly to support government expenditure or government revenues, clearly it manifests in the economy in the form of taxes.
Well, expectations are running wide, and I guess you know what. As Ghanaians await the 2025 budget presentation, concerns about taxation and economic policies continue to dominate discussions among traders. One key voice in this conversation is Clement Watson, the first vice president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, and the immediate past chairman of the Abosokan Spare Parts Dealers Association, who has been outlining his expectations of the budget, emphasizing the need to scrap the COVID-19 levy, the E-Levy, and other nuisance taxes that he believes are stifling businesses.
As a business community, there are things that we expect. We are in high expectation of the budget, which will be read tomorrow. In the run-up to the election, the various political parties paid a visit to us, and as part of the visit, there were some grievances that we put before them, each of the flag bearers, and they all assured us that if they come to power, definitely they were going to do something for us. And grievances that we put before them had to do with the high cost of doing business in Ghana, and what we also called the nuisance taxes. Yeah. So if I want to enumerate some of the nuisance taxes that we expect the government to abolish in tomorrow's budget reading, one had to do with the E-Levy, because we think the E-Levy has been very inimical as far as businesses are concerned. Then we also expect the abolishment of the 2% special imports levy. That import levy, after paying the actual import levy, they again slash 2% of whatever you have paid on it. And
well, the MPP is also, they've been talking, a former information minister, a member of parliament for actually in the Eastern region, and now minority spokesperson on the economy, Kojo Ponkroma, says the opposition expects the finance minister to present a truthful account of the economy inherited from the MPP administration. He has also been cautioned against the introduction of new taxes in the 2025 presentation tomorrow.
The first thing is that we expect the minister to be truthful to the economic record of this country. The economic record of this country is not in the mouth of any politician to mouth. The Ghana Statistical Service, and I understand later this morning, they're even going to do some work on the latest GDP numbers. The Bank of Ghana and other institutions of state regularly publish Ghana's economic record. I think that the minister should desist from any invitation from political forces to juice up the numbers to paint a more bleak story of the Ghanaian economy than is. Because if he does that, he will scare investors away. If he does that, he will not be true to the economic record of the country. What we need to do is to be true to the record and to build on the successes so far. That's number one. Number two, on the fiscal side, a lot of people are expecting the removal of these three taxes we have spoken about without an introduction of new taxes or padding onto it, some more VAT on other sectors, which will end up crippling other sectors of the economy.
Right.
Right, let me bring in some interest groups ahead of the presentation tomorrow because a lot is at stake. Now, Ahmad Labi joins me via Zoom. Mr. Labi, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
Good afternoon.
So, you are president of the Progressive Road Contractors Association. Already, there are issues regarding payment of work done. Tomorrow is the day. What do you expect from the finance minister?
Tomorrow, good evening to Dolly. Tomorrow, what consulting question actually, or the contractors want is the road tools to be established. And the rate for the tools. The departing of the road and jet funds. Because at the moment, those funds have been departed. And it's creating a lot of problems.
It is difficult to hear you, Mr. Labi. If you can maybe position yourself well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it's better now. You were talking about trucks parked on the roadside.
Yes, the decoupling of the road fund. The road fund and the debt fund to be decoupled.
Okay.
At the moment, it's been capped. I think over 35%. And we need to be decoupled so that we be able to pay the contractors and have more jobs done.
And you think
and
that
we want the road post to be really public. And also pray for the tools to go up from the motorbike from 10% to 1 city, practical to 2 cities, salon cars to 5 cities, SUVs and pickups to 10 cities, and beyond. Vehicle with ASO of more than 3 ASOs, or more than 2 ASOs, to be paying 100 cities per ASO. They should be paying 100 cities per ASO when they have to register for the road working safety.
Okay. There are a few issues I want to put. I mean, the last time the roads minister spoke about the sector and the level of indebtedness, he mentioned, for example, that at this stage it will be difficult to give any promise as to when payments will be done. I mean, the budget will obviously offer some money to the sector to take care of other things, including possibly paying off debts. First of all, in terms of your members, how much are you owe, and what do you expect the budget to do in terms of the work done so far and payment not coming?
You see, the decoupling of the road fund will actually make small money to pay. Because the road fund money is being taken elsewhere. Part of it is being taken elsewhere. And we need that money back. Seriously, from the time that the capping was done, we need all that money to be refunded to the road fund
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously it will take a while before, I mean, every PESWA is paid, especially even for work done so far. Did you expect government to continue to award more contract when the one done has not even been paid?
You say government have decided to use some of the drip, machines to do some of the projects. This is the reason why we have the potential for the drip machine.
Okay.
And I agree that we can award too many contracts this year because we need to find money to pay the contractors what they are owed. So the drip machine will be used to do some of the projects, and then there should be a proper provision on the drip machine.
Okay.
For this work.
We'll wait and hear the details in the budget tomorrow. Thank you very much, Mr. Hammond, for your time. He is the president of the Progressive Contractors Association. Let me bring in Dr. Joseph Obin, president of GUTA. Dr. Obin, you've heard from the finance minister. E-Levy will obviously go. The betting tax will go. COVID-19 levy obviously will go. I mean, you've been calling for this for some time now. This should come as good news for GUTA and, of course, yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So the minister have preempted most of the things that I wanted to say. As for us, the stability of the economy is very paramount to us. That the budget should adopt measures to help strengthen and stabilize the local currency. It's very important to reduce inflation, interest rates, and improve other economic indicators, especially the exchange rate. These are the indicators that make business thrive. And so we are expecting that they put a very pragmatic measures that ensure that we attain the stability that we so crave for. We are also expecting tax cuts.
Right.
And that the tax system should be streamlined. It's very important, with special emphasis to the VAT, to be made more simplified and affordable and uniform as well. It should be restructured because the VAT as is structured now is not ensuring compliance, and it's not bringing parity, what I normally call parity, and fairness to businesses. The thresholds that defines who pays what should be removed. There shouldn't be any threshold. The thresholds should be removed so that we all pay the taxes, and it should be very uniform. We are also expecting that the dollar be fixed quarterly or biannually, so that prices will be stabilized.
Okay.
The fact that we always benchmark the duty payment with
the dollar, with the exchange.
With the foreign exchange is not helping us at all. So we also seek measures that will
Doctor, just one question, because you brought in the element of VAT. We've been told by the finance minister that they hope to expand the compliance level with VAT. Currently, it stands at 36%. For them, it's simply unacceptable. They are hoping to rake in more revenue. So they want to expand the compliance for VAT. I mean, when they talk about it, what do you expect should be done to make it, more compliant, so that those who are expected to charge VAT will willingly do so?
Okay, so the key to revenue enhancement is compliance. Right. There's no doubt about that. It's not about the numerous taxes that we charge or the high taxes that we charge. It's compliance is the key to revenue enhancement. And the key to compliance is simplicity and affordability, right, and the uniformity of these taxes. And this should be known to policymakers. And these are the things that drive revenue to be enhanced. And so if he's also talking in the same direction, then of course I will support him. But what we have to do is also enhance on revenue collection. We expect the budget to adopt measures that will effectively enhance on compliance, such as education, monitoring, and civilized enforcement. The underlining was civilized enforcement,
Right.
that we do not do the machoism and all that when we want to enforce on compliance. So we build the necessary systems to ensure that we normally toll to the line of compliance that will ensure that we get more revenue, and that the tax net should also be enhanced. The tax net should be expanded,
Right.
so to rope in a lot more people outside the tax net. When that happens, then the overdependency on just a few of us to be paying the tax is reduced to barest minimum. And I was talking about the duties, and unfortunately, the minister seemed to know my mind, and that he said that they are going to rationalize the post items at the port.
Right.
And it's very important that we rationalize those taxes and make sure that we prune the number of taxes there. It's about 22 cost items. We should be able to prune them down so that we'll be able to pay duties to be competitive in the sub-region.
Right.
To be able to also sell the goods at reasonable prices to our consumers. So I think we are in the same page.
Okay, we'll leave it here.
Then we are saying that we want the budget to also consider introduction of indemnity, amnesty to businesses with regards to our tax obligations. Because we are all talking about resetting the economy. It's true. Why are we resetting? Because we think that in the past, the tax system was so cumbersome. It was so cumbersome and so difficult to comply with. Means that most businesses will make mistakes, and that we should be forgiving those that, and then
start afresh.
Make us start afresh and reset our tax obligations again. And so it is very important that we consider all that. When we're able to do that, people will then start doing the right things, and then it will help enhance on the revenues that we so seek. Then, having collected all the monies and all that, what do we have to do? We have to rationalize expenditure as well. That we do not also overprice expenditure. That we have to do everything to reduce how we do we expend. We scrutinize our expenditure, evaluate it, and then ensure that we have value for money for expenditure, and also to avoid waste and misappropriation of whatever fund that we have helped to generate.
All right.
It does not encourage tax payments, so we should do everything to prune down on this expenditure so that tax payment will be
flexible.
We'll leave it here. Be encouraged.
We'll leave it here. Tomorrow is the deed, and I'm sure that after the presentation, then we'll have more time to digest the issues. But let me bring in briefly Professor Kwesi Prempeh. Professor Kwesi Prempeh is the Andrews University in the United States of America. Prof, you're welcome. You've heard the expectations. Everybody's expectation is quite high, especially with the new governments and the promises that we've been told. E-Levy will go, COVID-19 will go, the betting tax will go. Some have suggested that will leave a gap of over 7 billion Ghana cedis in our revenue generation. At the same time, where even monies owed contractors run in excess of 100 billion Ghana cedis. What should government do as it meets expectation and also generate the needed revenue to execute government business to meet its obligations?
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers. Dr. Obin, good afternoon. I mean, as I know, Ghana will prepare our budgets based on what we term as cost-based budgeting. All the expenses are planned and allocated, and then we now come and look at the revenues coming in. We know that the current government, the NDC government, campaigned saying that they were going to take away 3 main taxes. In some research work that I've done, I supported them in removing these 3 taxes, the E-Levy, the betting tax, and COVID. These levies were established for specific purposes.
Right.
If you look at the E-Levy, for instance, the E-Levy itself should have been part of the communications service tax. From the history of this tax, when it was established, before NDC left in 2016, the rate was 6%.
Right.
Then the current government in 2019, the NPP government took it to 9% in 2019. And then in 2020, they brought it back to 5%. If you ask me, if you are doing away with the E-Levy and the betting tax, and the purpose for these taxes, as were established, to go to youth employment, that is the purpose that the CST was established for.
Right.
So to reset it, I am hoping that the finance minister will reset it back to the 6%. And then he may be able to do away with these two taxes, E-Levy and betting tax. So if you go back to 6%, it will make up for the gap that is missing. Another area that they can also use to make up for any loss in revenue. One, we all know the property tax, which we have talked about for so many years.
Yes.
And then also rent tax. They go together. It is not only the property tax, but the rent tax must also be looked at. If you look at the GRA's tax reporting, these two taxes, the amount of money that they bring in is not very significant.
Right.
So if the government is going to say that we are going to be more friendly, we are going to make sure that we come out with a strategy to collect the property taxes and the rent tax, it is going to make up for any shortfall that may come in taking away the E-Levy and the betting tax. For the COVID-19 tax, if you ask me, it was established for a purpose. No country is now, COVID is no more.
Absolutely.
It's been, so there's no need for it. Then also they must also look at the rationalization. If you look at the way our VAT system is done and the calculation, it is tax on tax, which takes you to about that 22% in calculation. As Dr. Obin mentioned, we need to simplify our tax. So we have to go back to the input-output tax, and I know that September have been talking about it. So I'm expecting that once we simplify it in a way that it was established, then it's going to reduce the rate from that 22% to the actual rate needed. And as Dr. Obin mentioned, if the tax rate is fairly set, taxpayers will not evade or avoid the tax. There in economics, there's something we call the lava curve. When your tax rate becomes so huge, people will evade or avoid.
Of course, they'll find ways to avoid
the revenue. So it is better to bring the VAT into the input-output tax regime so that the rate will be normalized. And in that case, you get taxpayers being comfortable in paying because they know whatever I pay, I'll be able to claim it as an input to offset whatever that I sell, so an output. So it becomes very something easy for us to manage. So that is something that I'm expecting that it must be addressed in it. And it's part of the NDC manifesto. So I know he's talking about time, but this is something that needs to be done because the tax evasion and avoidance that is happening in the country is because the rate is too high.
What about, the exchange rates? Can something be done about it?
So the proposal from the trade is that they are hoping that it moves from, instead of having it reviewed weekly, can we set it to quarterly? I know it was part of the NDC manifesto when the president went to Abosokan. That was what he told the Abosokan people. So I'm expecting that, as you have said, let it be captured in the manifesto. Indeed, listening to the finance minister yesterday, he mentioned that they are going to work in a way that we see stability in the exchange rate volatility. So it is something that if we can all work together, ensure that price stability will come, the major impact will be on the exchange rate because the volatility is what is causing prices to change. On your news this morning, when the minister went out, someone told the person that there's an item that within 3 weeks, the price has increased by 35%.
And it's almost everywhere. It's almost everywhere.
So, and the main thing is because of the volatility in exchange rate. So, if you are going to address that quarterly valuations, then it's going to give the traders some leeway to plan. And that will really help us. So, this is, and we know now, as inflation is coming down, if they're able to work assiduously at what all the strategies reduce the cost push element, we are hoping that the volatility in exchange rates will come down. Then we see the price stability. When we see the price stability, traders can now plan.
Okay.
And the economy can move on as we expect.
Prof, my final question, because we are awaiting the formal presentations. My final question, what the government has hinted that they will be announcing special incentives for entities that want to take advantage of the government 24-hour economy program. One of them includes some cheap electricity at some time of the day, and then security provision to help them stay afloat. I mean, are these things that is it a way to go to actualize this?
So if you listen to them, they are trying to find a way to boost production.
Right.
And we know in the night, especially we know the peak time of electricity use ends around 12 to 11. Thereafter, the consumption really drops. So if the government is going to come in with a plan to boost production and with that incentive, the trade-off between production increasing and reducing electricity prices at that time will offset itself. However, we may have to see in the budget which line item will be the government setting funds aside to pay for any gap that may come because of this policy.
Okay.
We really want to see a specific line item. It's not just political talk. If not, we are also going to worsen the ECG situation. But we may have to see a line item that's saying that we are setting X amount of funds based on this from this point to support any shortage that may come out from this policy, which is something that we really need to do. In principle, it's good to start or to kickstart productivity and also create employment. The beauty is that if it works very well and companies are able to do the 3-1-1 strategy,
right,
the PAYE from the additional 2 employees is going to increase the tax revenue.
Okay.
And that may be used to offset the energy costs, the energy reduction costs during the peak period. So this might be carefully watched, but we need to also do a lot of empirical exercise to make sure that within 6 months, Ghana is not shortchanged. And then also, there must also be strict compliance because manufacturers are rational beings. All of them will stop their day production
and do night,
and then move to the time that the tariffs are lower. So government must have to have a strategy in place to monitor that manufacturers are not just find a way to beat the system. They stop the day production and move to the night production because the tariffs are lower. So anyone who signs on it must really see a 24-hour production,
right,
but not just switching from daytime to nighttime to benefit from the change in tariffs.
Prof, thank you so much. Tomorrow will be the D-Day and we'll have more on this matter. Thank you so much, Professor Pepra from the Andrews University in the United States of America. Now, President John